All right, good evening. I am calling to order the Concord Township Board of Trustees meeting for April 6th, 2022. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. Dawson, can you please do roll call?
Mr. Dondorfer.
Present.
Mr. McIntosh.
Present.
Mrs. Lucci.
Present. And moving to the approval of minutes. Can I get a motion?
I will make a motion to approve the minutes from the March 16th, 2022 regular trustees meeting.
You have to second.
And I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Time for our elected officials reports. Our fiscal officer, Mrs. Dawson.
Thank you, Mrs. Lucci. As of March 31st, we were 25% of the way through the calendar year. Treasury balance for the 20 active funds within the township treasury was $17 million. We received the first half of the 2021 real estate taxes last week. The treasury balance includes $11 million in funds set aside for specific purposes. It does not include working capital. Year-to-date revenue was 45% of the annual budgeted resources, and expenditures were 13% of the treasury balance for 2022, so we are well within budget. I will be rewriting permanent appropriations and revenue for the next meeting. In the meantime, I'm requesting supplemental appropriations of an additional $50,000 in capital projects and $25,000 in the TIF fund, so we can book the final SIB loan entries and payoff as provided by the state of Ohio earlier today. And I will need a separate vote for each one of those.
We
Right
need
now.
a vote right now. Okay.
Okay.
Where we
Do
at?
We need
It's
to.
not on the agenda,
Oh.
Mr. Dondorfer. I'm bringing
Okay.
it up from the floor as
All
I
right.
had
Okay.
indicated to you earlier today.
I will make a motion to appropriate for the supplemental appropriation of an additional $50,000 to the capital projects fund.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I will move to for supplemental appropriations in the amount of $25,000 to the TIF fund.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Anything else to report?
Yep, and if you have any questions, do not hesitate to call my office, 354-7516. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Dawson. Mr. Dondorfer.
Thank you, Mrs. Lucci. I had a couple calls from some residents since the last meeting. One was regarding an HOA's responsibility regarding water retention basins. I know we're getting more and more interest in this, and eventually I think we're going to have somebody from Lake County in.
Next meeting.
Okay, great. A lot of people don't understand when you're in a development and there's an HOA and bylaws and things of that nature. If there's water basins in there, normally the responsibility lies on the homeowners association. So I had some dialogue with a resident regarding that. Took a call from a resident on Girdle Road that was having an issue with some water runoff, and we had him pointed in the right direction. I think we're going to be able to take care of his concerns. I did have several phone calls and some email correspondence regarding the public hearing we had, public hearing number 1 today. And I know we're going to have some further dialogue on that later on. And I would just like to remind the residents of our Easter egg hunt we have this weekend that Deb Esker has organized for us on Saturday. So always a well-attended event. And so we hope you can come out for that. And it was also nice to swear in our leadership at the Concord Township Fire Department tonight, and proud of those guys, and look forward to seeing them lead our staff and eventually move across the street to our new fire station. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McIntosh.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. It's good to be back. I regret missing last month. Just got some time off, but since I was here last, I will report on what a delightful time the Founders Breakfast was just about this time last month. Very exciting to be celebrating the 200th birthday of Concord Township. That was a really great a great event. It was great to see some of our former elected officials and county elected officials there, and just to reflect on what a great community Concord is. And I know there was a lot of talk about, being a community, and everybody here always says, "Wow, Concord's such a great place," and I'm sure a lot of communities in Lake County do. But it's a time to celebrate and be together. And as we talked about when we swore in the fire department, I mean, it's the Concord family. It's a great. I'm very excited about this year. I did have some conversations and questions about folks regarding the Ivy Ridge. I also did receive some email and correspondence regarding our public hearing earlier with respect to the rezone that we had a public hearing on just a bit ago. I've had some conversations about stormwater with a few residents, and a couple other things. I did get an email from a resident and did see some comments on social media, and there's been a rumor started that Concord Township is not building fire station number 2, that project is dead, and I want to make sure to address the fact that is false information. That project is not dead. It's still intended, and right now we're building Station 1. So, and I guess I will close my remarks by saying that slow down out there. I know that it's a problem. I know Mr. Dondorfer, I'm sure you've dealt with it for years in patrolling the streets in Concord Township, but spring is there, and I know the streets have been empty in a lot of our neighborhoods because of the winter, and we've had a lot of snow, and it's been cold this year, but people are getting back out on there, and just urge everyone to slow down, because residential speed limit is 25 miles an hour, and there's kids, there's pets, there's adults out there, and people are driving quick, so we always like to bring that to everyone's attention.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. I'd like to mention also what a pleasure it was to swear in our new firefighters this evening. It's always wonderful to get to be in their presence and be with such men and women who truly are just deserve to have all the attention on them. So, and thank you for the leadership. Mr. Rose and I attended the Eastern Lake County Chamber event a couple weeks ago to talk about all the good things that are going on in Concord Township. I as well have spent considerable time with many residents regarding some new developments along Girdle and Nature Preserve, and a lot of time researching myself a lot of the information related to that development. I've also had conversations with residents regarding our zoning issues that were before us today in the public hearing, and spending a lot of time doing research on that as well. We did have a staff meeting last week, and as you mentioned, I do look forward to our Easter egg hunt on Saturday. Deb, I hope you bring some good weather. I do want to mention one phone call that Mr. Dondorfer actually received from a resident who lost her husband a couple years ago in the intersection of Prouty and Morley. And after that incident happened, she contacted Mr. Dondorfer, and he helped reach out to the county. We discussed it, that it is a good area to do a traffic study to look at the amount of accidents. And we all know that that's a high accident area. And the county did their due diligence and recommended a change in the way the lights are adjusted. And Ms. Gail Sakula was very appreciative. Talked a great deal about how wonderful you were, how you responded to her right away, how the board went ahead and made those recommendations, and she wanted to thank us, and she can't wait to meet you.
Thank you.
So thank you for your due diligence.
Yeah,
in that,
it was
Mr. Dunn.
on behalf of the board. I mean, we all realized that was a need that needed to be, a measure needed to be taken. I mean, there have been several accidents at that intersection over the years, and she really appreciated the board picking the ball up and rolling with it and getting it done. So
Yeah, I give her a lot of courage for making that phone call, and she's looking out for everyone else's safety. So thank you, Gail. All right, it's time for our department reports. So our administration department, Mr. Andy Rose.
Thank you, Mrs. Lucci, members of the board, Mrs. Dawson, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I'll start with a few items that are on the agenda. Item B is a resolution, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's a resolution to participate in the ODOT winter salt contract for next year. To get in now gives us a better price for next year. So we're actually going to talk about winter salt. Item C is a resolution, and I'm sure the law director can offer clarification at the appropriate time, but Item C is a resolution that amends the settlement agreement that you passed back in December for the Stephen Douglas Corporation Endless Discovery Holdings. There's the only change to this agreement, it amends the land that is included in the agreement. As you know, they purchased an additional parcel of land and then combined them into a larger parcel to give them expansion room in the future back on Discovery. But it requires an amendment to that settlement agreement. Incidentally, next meeting, we will be amending the CRA that we put in place back in December just to capture that same amount of land. Item D on tonight's agenda is the annual vote to accept all bids for stone, asphalt, concrete, limestone. These bids set the price for the upcoming season. They were reviewed by the service director, Tim Brown, and myself. We found them to be appropriate and good bids. We received bids from Osborne, Cuyahoga Asphalt Materials, Kokosing Materials, and so I'll request a favorable vote to accept all bids, which gives us an opportunity to go and purchase these materials as needed throughout the summer work season. Item F is a purchase order to CEC, which is Civil and Environmental Consultants. That is for a drainage study to take place on Oak Ridge Drive. This is a reimbursable expense by Lake County Stormwater. Item G is a purchase order to Civil and Engineering Consultants, CEC. This is for the professional engineering services to do all of the work to be able to go out for a new service department cold storage building. And that's it for the agenda. I was glad to see that the nets for the tennis and the pickleball courts are installed. It was good to see some folks, despite some chilly weather. I saw a couple out in the drizzle the other day playing pickleball, but it's good to see those in use right away. I also look forward to seeing everyone at the Easter egg hunt festivities on Saturday. I know the rec staff leaned way forward, and there's a lot of good planning, and I know there's a lot of eggs. Wow, looks like a factory over there. And then finally, as I've been doing, this is our bicentennial year. Rick, if you could bring up the featured photo of the meeting. This is one of my favorite pictures that comes out of the book. Our featured bicentennial picture is the photo of the old Concord train depot that was along Ravenna Road. This picture was taken in the 1890s. I think Mike Lucas took the picture. The station was this was part of the B&O Railroad, Baltimore, Ohio Railroad. It wasn't a passenger stop. This was strictly a freight and mail stop. And the depot sits on what is now part of the Lake Metro Parks Greenway Corridor. So I just think that's it's just a great picture, suitable for framing. And that concludes my report, Madam Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. Great picture. Moving on to Fire Department, Chief Zabo.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening,
So
Chief.
before I give my report, I want to echo my comments at the swearing in and thank the Board of Trustees for supporting our newly appointed officers, our new deputy chief, captain, lieutenant, and a firefighter that were sworn in this evening. And I couldn't be prouder of the department that we're serving in. And they certainly make my job a lot easier when we have such strong leadership below and above. So we do appreciate that, and there's going to be more good things coming of Concord Fire Department in the future. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that unfolds. For the month of March, we had a total of 210 incidents. We had 150 EMS events with 115 transports to local hospitals. We had 60 non-EMS events and 3 fire events. Inside of Concord, we had 2 fires, 1 open burning fire and 1 car fire near a house that was quickly extinguished before the fire extended to the structure. So that was a good stop by the fellows. Outside of Concord, we assisted in 1 commercial building fire. We gave mutual aid 16 times and received mutual aid 11 times. And we had 44 overlapping calls for almost 21% of our calls. The Fire Prevention Bureau completed 61 inspections, accounting for about 150 hours. The UH tri-point alarm testing spanned 8 days itself for a total of 50 hours. That's how long it takes them to get in and get that done. So, and that's with the assistance of the State Fire Marshal. They performed 9 plan reviews, and accounting for about 24 hours, and helped in 2 fire investigations in Madison, and still found time for about 12 hours of Con Ed. So I don't know how they squeeze it in. Tonight I just want to remind our residents of the Ohio Fire Code. Recreational fires such as cooking and campfires are permitted as long as they are in an approved container and or cleared area. Recreational fires shall not be conducted within 25 feet of a structure or combustible material. Conditions which could cause fire spread, such as leaves and dry or dead vegetation, should be eliminated prior to ignition. And the size of any recreational fire shall not exceed 3 feet in diameter and 2 feet in height. All recreational fires shall be constantly attended until the fire is extinguished. A minimum of 1 portable fire extinguisher with a minimum of a 4A rating or other approved on-site fire extinguishing equipment such as dirt, sand, water barrel, or garden hose shall be available for immediate utilization. Any open burning or recreational fire that is offensive or objectionable because of smoke emissions or when atmospheric conditions or local circumstances make such fires hazardous is prohibited. Concord Township Fire Department is authorized to order the extinguishment by the property owner, another person responsible, or the fire department of open burning that creates or adds to a hazardous or objectionable situation per the Ohio Fire Code. Portable outdoor fireplaces shall be used in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions and should not be operated within 15 feet of a structure or combustible material except at 1 and 2 family dwellings. Not a combustible balcony of a multifamily unit. So on multifamily units, you can't have a grill or an open fire pit on your balcony. It's amazing that has to be a law, but it's there because it happens. So, you know, we all enjoy the evenings of campfires, and those are certainly authorized. Anything beyond a recreational fire is considered open burning, and the resident would have to go through a permitting process, first through the Lake County General Health District, and then through my office, and they're authorized and signed off on after they're reviewed, and then the fire, the open burn can take place after that. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Service Department, Mr. Brown.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to congratulate all the fire officers that were promoted. I got the opportunity to work with those guys years ago, and they are all very deserving of that. So I'd like to congratulate them and wish them luck in their next chapter of their career. The Service Department in the month of March responded to four call-outs for snow and ice control, applying approximately 315 tons of salt. Crews have been out cold patching potholes, making sod damage repairs, and performing road evaluations. Additionally, the crews have begun the ditch maintenance program throughout the township. The tennis court and pickleball courts, their nets have been installed and are open for play. The baseball fields have been too wet for any maintenance, but we are hopeful the next week here coming will allow us to get out there and do something with them. The yard waste drop-off at the Service Department is open from 7:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m., Monday through Friday. Only yard waste and paper biodegradable bags is permitted. The annual Brush Day drop-off at the Service Department will take place on Saturdays, May 7th and May 21st, from 7 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Residents may drop off brush, tree limbs 4 inches in diameter and smaller. No landscape timbers, railroad ties, or lumber is permitted. The joint road resurfacing projects should be starting up next week, weather permitting. Spoke with the contractors earlier today, and they're anxious to get going. They're going to be replacing the concrete curbs that are in need of repair in the Stonewick and Nature View allotment. Residents with questions or concerns can contact us at 440-350-3225 from 7 a.m. to 3:30 Monday through Friday, or email at concordtwp.com under Service Department. And we'd like to wish everybody a happy Easter. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Zoning Department, Mrs. Heather Freeman.
Good evening.
Evening.
So zoning department activities, just a quick update on that. We issued 37 zoning permits during the month of March. Also approved 25 zoning certificates of compliances, and we opened up 8 new investigations about potential zoning violations. Last night, the zoning commission held their monthly meeting. They did approve an addition for an existing manufacturing business located on Auburn Road, Cometic Gasket. They've been in Concord since 1998. They're expanding, and they're looking at adding about 10,000, 11,000 square feet of warehouse production space. So that's exciting. BZA is meeting next week. They're going to have 2 applications for conditional use permits for projects that are being proposed along Cryle Road. Detailed information about those can be found on the website. And just a quick reminder to residents, if you're hiring any contractors this summer or spring to do any work inside your homes or outside, please make sure they're getting the proper permits from Concord and also from the Lake County Building Department. So if there's any questions, you can reach our office. Our information's on the website at concordtwp.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Recreation, Mrs. Esker.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
And congratulations to our new Assistant Deputy Chief, Mike Bedell, Officer Dennis Calhoun, and Officer Troy Yoder. Concord Township is indeed lucky to have such an outstanding fire department that keeps us all safe and protects and serves. We got a lot of great things happening in April. So I am here to tell you about it. Rick, fire up that PowerPoint, please. Thank you. This month's bicentennial snapshot in history honors a very special anniversary for Concord Township. April 19th is the anniversary of the battles of Lexington and Concord, fought in Massachusetts in 1775, and were the genesis of the American Revolutionary War. It was during these battles that Paul Revere made his famous ride, and the first gunshot that began the war was immortalized in Ralph Waldo Emerson's iconic poem, "As the Shot Heard Round the World." Concord Township is proudly named after those victorious battles that started the American Revolutionary War and were the culmination of the struggle for American independence over British rule. Our name proudly celebrates our independence every day, and in honor of this very special anniversary of our very special bicentennial year, we've got something special planned that day. On Tuesday, April 19th, we invite residents and guests to participate in a special program that explores the history of our namesake battles and pays tribute to Concord's historical markers that identify the sites of important locations in Concord's evolution. This program begins at 10 a.m. at Town Hall, where guests board a Lake Metro Parks bus to the Old Stone School for a presentation on the battles of Lexington and Concord. And then guests enjoy a guided bus tour of Concord's 6 historical markers and end up back at Town Hall for a brief rededication ceremony and informal reception. It's a lovely program designed to mark this important anniversary during Concord's bicentennial year. Plus, it gives you a new, informed perspective of those historical markers that we drive by every day. Pre-registration is required for the program. Simply sign up online at concordtwp.com or just call the Recreation Department for personal assistance. We hope to see you there. And the big news in April is the old-fashioned tradition is back. Residents and guests are invited to hop on the bunny trail this Saturday and enjoy Concord Township's traditional Easter egg hunt. First, drive around beautiful Concord Township to collect treats from Hope Ridge Church, the Goddard School of Concord, Quail Hollow Country Club, Concord Alliance Church, and the Community Center. And then everyone is invited to head over to Town Hall for a good old-fashioned Easter egg hunt on the ball field, just like in the olden days. The Town Hall hunt begins promptly at noon and will be divided into age categories of 1 to 2, ages 3 to 4, ages 5 to 7, and then ages 8 and up. So kids are hunting with kids the same age and roughly the same size. The hunt proceeds regardless of the weather, so dress in layers and wear your mud boots, but let's all celebrate spring together at this wonderful, beloved family tradition. Spring is upon us, and so is garage sale season. So make your spring cleaning count this year and sell your treasures at the garage sale at the community center on Friday, April 22nd from noon to 6, and Saturday, April 23rd from 9 a.m. till noon. We still have a few tables available, and we encourage everyone to shop the sale and find all that great stuff that they didn't know they needed. Make a fresh start this spring and try something new. April classes at the community center include gentle morning yoga, yoga Pilates fusion, martial arts, American Mahjong, make and take handmade soaps, watercolor pen and ink art, Easter card making, introduction to pickleball, and an AARP safe driver program. The pickleball classes are very popular and are full at this moment, but we are working quickly to add more classes, and those should appear on the website mid next week. Residents and guests are welcome to register for classes online at concordtwp.com or just call the Recreation Department for immediate assistance. There are a nice variety of social groups and clubs that meet regularly at the community center, from gardening to music to cards to art to sewing to trivia. There are a lot of opportunities for folks to meet new friends, and new members are always welcome. So again, just call the Recreation Department for more information and to start your new adventure. Our next Library Tuesday program focuses on the U.S. Constitution and the English Civil War. Staff from the Mentor Public Library will present how an early and absolute form of the English monarchy resolutely failed, and through a series of civil wars finally became a more modern constitutional commonwealth, and how that impacted the formation of our Constitution. Library Tuesday programs are free and open to the public, and new friends are always welcome. Just call us to reserve your seat. Our next senior social is Wednesday, April 13th, when guests will create a really cool, personal, creative art using Scrabble tiles. And then on April 20th, we welcome back a very popular lecturer, Susan Canavino, to tell her fascinating presentation on the roles and relationships of Grace Kelly. And our monthly bingo is back on April 27th with a spring theme and prizes. All senior socials are Wednesdays afternoons and begin at 1 p.m. They're free and open to the public, and we always welcome new friends. So for planning purposes, we do ask that folks pre-register so we know how many treats to have on hand. Here we go. Looking ahead to summer, to the summer of our incredible bicentennial year, I am thrilled to announce the Concord Township Summer Concert Series band lineup. This is our bicentennial year, and our theme is Concord Through the Ages, and we have bands that specialize in music from certain decades. So dust off your spats, take out your poodle skirts, because we're going to have some fun this summer. We start with the Swingin' Primetime Band that kick off our series on June 9th. The Geese Cats perform your favorite doo-wop tunes and other 50s tunes we all know and love on June 16th. The British are invading on June 23rd with Blue Evolution, and Pieces of Eight brings classic rock with horns and brass to Concord on June 30th. The Headlands Beach Experience plays 70s and 80s favorites on July 7th, and the Breakfast Club, which is a really popular band out of Cleveland, performs for the first time in Concord on July 14th. The Saints take the stage on July 21st with Americana Rock, and our series comes to a strong finish with the local favorite band, Risk Factor, on July 28th. So dust off your lawn chairs, throw them in your trunk, and get ready for some really good times this summer. And it gets better. Our bicentennial community days are going to be spectacular this year, with an upscale Uncorked on Friday, August 5th, and an activity-packed bicentennial family day on Saturday, August 6th. A special Amped Up Uncork kicks off our bicentennial community days this year on Friday, August 5th. Uncork will feature the Rock Radio Band playing hits and dance favorites that span over 50 years. The Thirsty Philly Company will provide signature Concord cocktails, beer, and wine, and their bartenders are legendary for adding that little extra finish that makes every drink really special. Guests can peruse our bicentennial Chinese raffle that is promising to be our best yet, and grab dinner from a variety of food trucks. And then on Saturday, August 6th, is our bicentennial family day. The day begins with the traditional 5K run and the fire department's awesome pancake breakfast in the morning. The evening activities kick off with a special bicentennial flag raising, immediately followed by a robust schedule of activities on the Town Hall campus and at the Old Stone School. Guests can grab dinner and a beer at Town Hall, browse the bicentennial raffle, enjoy a wide variety of kids' games and activities at Kids World, participate in our traditional and beloved frog jump contest, and experience a bubble palooza. And then they take the train over to the Old Stone School campus to watch history come alive with pioneer life demonstrations and old-fashioned kids games. Pieces of 8 begins playing our favorite tunes at 5 p.m. We'll celebrate Concord's bicentennial birthday at 7 with a party. Abbey Rodeo takes the stage at 8 p.m. with a break at 9 for the bicentennial raffle drawing. And this wonderful 2-day celebration comes to a close with a big bang with a spectacular fireworks display at 10 p.m. So look for details about Bicentennial Community Days in the Summer Grapevine coming to resident mailboxes the first week of May. So happy 200th birthday, Concord. The Recreation Department looks forward to sharing a wonderful year of bicentennial events with our residents and guests and celebrating our remarkable township every day. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. All right, moving on to our Sheriff's Office, Sergeant Falvey.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
For the month of March, the Sheriff's Office responded to 1,007 calls for service. Of those, but not limited to, were 4 injury accidents, 11 property damage accidents. We had an arrest of a female for OVI and child endangerment, a juvenile female for assault and disorderly conduct, a juvenile male for domestic violence assault and a mental evaluation, an adult male for tampering with evidence, attempted assault on an officer, aggravated menacing, resisting arrest, and disorderly conduct, and then an adult male for felony domestic violence. 56 alarms. We issued 19 traffic citations. We issued 149 traffic warnings. Let's see. Our high numbers were suspicious circumstances, vehicles, and persons, which were 43, 29 welfare checks, and 18 thefts. And not only, but we had 3 breaking and entering the vehicles, and I will touch on that here in just a minute. One of the calls that I'd like to highlight, it happened on March 15th. It was on Ravenna Road. A male was seen outside with what looked like a rifle. Deputies responded, closed the roadway. Once they arrived on scene and tried to address the male, he ran inside his house. He then exited without the rifle. He charged up to the deputies and kind of was trying to egg him on or trying to get into an altercation with them. Deputies were able to take control of him, placed him under arrest, and that's stemming from the tampering with the evidence, the assault, and aggravated menacing. He did attempt to injure, or a deputy did get assaulted during the arrest while he was resisting. That's one of the highlights. I'd like to congratulate the fire department. We do get along with them very well. We work with them very well. Ever since our inception at the Concord, so it's always a pleasure working with everybody. We will be at the Easter egg hunt. We will have extra deputies. I'll be there, and 2 other deputies will be in the areas where the vehicles are traveling through, collecting Easter eggs to make sure traffic is flowing correctly and safely, and our patrons are safe. We'll also be at the Easter egg hunt itself when it comes here to the township. Our ATV complaints, we only had 1, but I know we've had concerns about ATVs in the past. So I will address that later on our website with some rules and regulations. But just a reminder, you have to follow the regular traffic laws when it comes to ATV and your registration and title of most of those vehicles. So do your homework before you go and buy one or before you go out and use one, because you have to be licensed, you have to have proper licensing on the vehicle, on the motor vehicle itself, and you are subject to any traffic laws and traffic violations. And if you do have a concern, please call us at the time that it's happening. It's very hard for us to enforce a situation if we're told after the fact, only because we have to go and evaluate the type of vehicle, what has been going on, who's been riding it. We're in the area, we can get there, so please call us if it's when it's active. We did, myself and Trustee Dondorfer met with the Eagles Club Association this week. Very productive meeting, it was a great meeting. These people, very great community, very supportive. I think they had a few concerns about issues that might be going on in the neighborhood. We put them at a lot of ease. I got a lot of good feedback. I sent 2 of the emails to Mr. Rose and Mr. Dondorfer, thanking us for being there and how informative it was. And then I actually got a few more after I sent those, but I spared your emails. And let's see, there's one more thing. Oh, yes. Please follow, if you have, I keep our statistics for every month and other pertinent information on the Sheriff's Office website at lakecounty.ohio.gov/sheriff. We also have our Facebook that we post a lot of information, a lot of hazards, a lot of emergencies that might be going on in the neighborhood on our Facebook page, which gets updated daily. Just Google or search for Lake County Sheriff's Office Frank Lee and Bruno on Facebook, or we have an app for Android and iPhones. Just look for lakeco.oh Sheriff's Office. We put out alerts such as road closures, emergencies that are going on, evacuations, if we need to be on the lookout for anything, and we do use that. We use it sparingly, but unfortunately we have to use it a lot. We used it a few times in Concord not too long ago. One for being a serious accident, and then the other one being this incident on Ravenna. So keep that in mind as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, it's time for our audience portion. We welcome any guests that would like to speak at this time. If you please come up to the podium and please come up and state your...
I would just like to ask one question. Are we going to touch
Sir?
on this Ivy Ridge?
Sir,
That's not on the agenda tonight,
it's not on the
sir.
agenda, but if you would like to ask the question, please come up and state your name and address, please.
No, if you're not going to talk about this, then I'm not going to stay.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to say a few comments? We welcome you to the podium. Is there anybody on the phone that would like to say a few comments?
No one on the phone, Madam Chair.
Awesome, thank you. So, seeing that no one would like to speak, we are moving on to old business. Seeing that there is none, we are moving on to new business. And before we begin, if it's okay, I would like to move to item J, which is our vote on our zoning amendment application, our public hearing. So if I can get a motion.
Madam Chairman, I would move to approve zoning amendment application 2022-1 by Concord Preserve LLC, requesting a zoning resolution map amendment from the current zoning district of Town Hall neighborhood to R1 residential district for the following properties owned by Concord Preserve LLC located on Concord Hamden Road, current permanent parcel numbers. And all of the parcel numbers are the same, but for the last 4 numbers. So I will read the first one in its entirety and then just the last 4 of the subsequent. So 08-A-114-0-00-076-0. The next parcel ends with 077-0, the next in 078-0, the next in 079-0, the next in 080-0, and the final one in 081-0.
And Madam Chair, I will second that motion.
Discussion. We have a lot to start, so
Yeah,
sure.
we do.
Mr. McIntosh, why don't you get us started here?
So this is a challenging property. And we've had 10 years before I was a trustee. I was on the zoning commission. It came up a couple times. In 2014-ish, I think there was a proposal to put 50 or 60 rental units there that were exclusively rental units, and I know that the zoning commission, I believe at the time unanimously, I know I voted against it for a lot of reasons. In 2018, there was a attempted rezone of not this parcel, but another one there, which I also know the zoning commission, including myself, unanimously opposed, and I believe the trustees voted to approve that, so that residential zoning got changed. And there's been some conversation about this being spot zoning. I certainly would agree that that 2 acre parcel might have qualified for that, but taking a look at the application of all of this property, I don't think is spot zoning. It's been a challenging property for a while, and that goes back to the conversation that I was fortunate to be part of in 2009 about Town Hall Common and Town Hall Neighborhood zoning district, and that was talking about how we might want to use zoning here in this town hall area back when the idea was this might be a town center or a bit of a hub. Fast forward to 2018-ish, 17, I guess 18, the zoning commission took up work sessions at the direction of the former board asking us to take a look at what would you do with that, because in 9 years we hadn't seen any activity and none of it had been utilized, and this property in particular represented challenges. We had some work sessions and public hearings. We didn't get anywhere with it, so nothing happened. We didn't get a lot of we didn't get any comment or input from the community, and we had decided just to effectively table it. So it has sat there until recently, and I know Mr. Davis purchased the property, and as he's told us during the public hearing, had gone through a process to get it where it is today. So it's certainly been a challenge. It's not the first time Concord's had to look at rezoning challenging property. And I understand that this raises a lot of questions with people. I got a little bit more to say, but I don't know if you guys have some other comments or
Yeah, sure.
dialogue.
I'll start. When I looked into digesting this request for a rezone, I looked at I think it's important to look at the history of these parcels. In 1961, it was zone manufacturing. There was a change in 1973 from manufacturing to general purpose. 1979, rezoned from general purpose back to manufacturing. And then in 2010, rezoned from manufacturing to town hall neighborhood. In 2004, we're at a point where the comprehensive plan comes into play. And in that, it states to consider rezoning this area previously manufacturing district to a different zoning classification that would be supportive of the town center mixed use concept. Then we go to 2006, where obviously there's the study that talks about moving the town center to the capital location. So I bring that up because, obviously my interpretation of that is the dynamics of that area changed over the years, and it was up to the Board of Trustees during those periods of time to do their due diligence and to make decisions that were in the best interests of the township. So when I look at this area now, since the focus of town center is over in the capital area and not in this area, we had some comments that made mention of, what is uniform development or orderly growth? And when I look at that parcel of property, and you have a piece that's a little, almost 6 acres, another piece that's going to be vacant, I don't see a light industrial concept there that would be supportive or appear like uniform development or orderly growth. I mean, I think that something similar in nature that is proposed by Mr. Davis is complementary. I think it's uniform. I think it's orderly growth, and I think it's in the best interests of the township and the citizens. Is one of the individuals mentioned tonight that we are tasked with executing good zoning practices.
Since you mentioned light industrial and commercial use, that was something else that was brought up I wanted to take a minute to explain or add something into because so town hall zoning, town hall neighborhood was implemented in 2009. And if you look at the uses of it, what is adjoining to it, if you go to the west, you do see some business and some commercial property. If you look at what the use table allows in town hall neighborhood, it doesn't allow for very much. It's very, I'd struggle. It's very thin that it's as commercial because you're looking at hair salons and small retail stores. So from a standpoint of economic development and commercial property bringing more value to the township, that doesn't qualify. It wouldn't do that. At this point, townships by their nature we don't get income tax out of businesses. So Concord is unique in that we do have a district called the JED, which we collect it, but this property is not included in the JED. In order for it to do so, we'd have to go through that process, which would involve the city of Painesville. It's not an untenable, but it's a process. And then we'd also have to add the property into the JED. And I don't know if Mr. Lucas has any comment, but I know that the township's currently involved in litigation over the township declaring property into the JED. So it's a bit of a stretch to say that this commercial property would ever result in higher tax revenue for the township. As particular, again, when you look at the uses, it's not we're not permitting the kind of uses that would probably bring a lot of tax. Do you want to add anything about adding to the JED?
Well, it depends how it's being added, number one. If the property owners voluntarily put it in, and I would have to check the boundary of the JED in relation to this as well, but.
It would need a JED boundary addition.
Right, that's right. We would have to make an amendment to expand the boundary of the JED, which would also require the consent of the Concord Township trustees, but also City Council in Painesville as the contracting parties in that. So assuming that first step goes forward, then the next step would be, okay, now it's a contiguous, we can bring it in, but the board knows the requirements to bring it in there, and it's not a sure thing.
And then we'd have to attract the business there, and then it'd have to be a business that would have either substantial property or income value that would actually drive, because my research on it would project that the residential value actually of the current development on the south side is bringing in more tax dollars than the two businesses that are already over there. So I think the idea that this would be more valuable to the township in commercial value is not an accurate statement.
Well, I don't think it is as a matter of law, as I'm sure the fiscal officer can verify. The only tax we generate as a township, exclusive of being included in the JED, is the property taxes.
Correct.
So whether it's commercial, retail, industrial on this property, it has no effect whatsoever on generating income tax one way or the other, or any tax revenue.
Correct.
So I don't understand the statement that was made by the one resident.
Well, I've seen some emails in that suggest we should leave it commercial because to change it would be spot zoning, and that we're leaving money on the table. And doing a little diligence, I don't find that to be an accurate statement.
I don't either. It's not.
And I also would like to, concur with Mr. McIntyre as far as the spot zoning goes. Like I said earlier, spot zoning is the process of singling out a small parcel of land for a classification totally different from that of the surrounding area, and I don't see that here. We have similar buildings across the street to the south that's residential. There's vacant land and residential to the east. There is some light manufacturing to the west, but I really believe that it is much more harmonious to have something similar in nature across the street versus some type of light industrial type.
I've always agreed with that. When you look at neighboring properties,
right? Yeah. And if you have these duplexes across the street, and then you see some complex go in that as trucks pulling in or loading docks or whatever, it just doesn't seem to fit for me.
Well, we are stuck with the fact that the prior board did zone those 2 acres into residential, and then next to that's a church. So you've got a church, you've got some residential, and adding more residential I don't find is, I don't think that's necessarily a stretch. Something else that I did see is that, talked about destroying our semi-rural nature, but we've got a property owner that I actually had a conversation with this owner last fall. He called me, I think, and was talking about wanting to preserve that land. And then Mr. Davis has struck up a deal where they split the property, and that landowner is going to do nothing with nearly 11 acres of the land. So we're looking at 6 units or 12 homes while preserving 11 acres. That's easily as generous as our RCD
Right.
zoning. And development's unavoidable. We have land, private landowners can do, within zoning confines, they do they want, So I just think it's a project. I know there was conversation about ownership versus rentals. Mr. Davis could go forward and put those out there for ownership, but that wouldn't stop individual owners. As I mentioned before, that I rented my condo when I wasn't able to sell it, so that made it a rental property. So it's not so much that, and we can't control rentals. Anybody can rent a property, so there's not a lot of influence we have there. And again, personal opinions about the aesthetics of the development are really not. We're talking about the rezone here. That's really not part of it. And frankly, if I were to take my personal view of things, there's a lot of stuff I wouldn't choose to zone in Concord Township, but I gotta live within the constraints of the law and the zoning, so I don't find that relevant to the decision process.
So I think you gentlemen sort of hit the major items here, talking about property tax versus residential versus commercial, talking about some of the not really, the spot zoning doesn't really fit based on sort of the landscape that we have here. The fact that there has been no interest in this town hall neighborhood since 2010. There's plenty of business in the corridor for this other business that could give us more revenue in the township. I think the other, the other thing is, these duplexes are, they rent for $2,000 a unit. It's not, it's a little, I think, a nicer type rental, if you will, if that's the way it's supposed to go. As Mr. Davis mentioned, he may decide to sell those and be owner occupied. I think the other thing that I kind of want to touch on, though, is the gas well. I know residents have been very nervous about the gas well. From what I understand, we have 40 gas wells in Concord Township. And we did speak with our fire and to find out, what kind of problems we've had in the past as far as explosives or fire. And I think there were only about 2 or 3 small incidences which, fire department came out and maybe noticed a leak and, things were taken care of. I know Mr. Davis mentioned there's 100 feet away. I know there's some differences of opinion on what that should be. There's some regulations in place and or not in place, but it is something to consider.
And it's not presently active.
Right.
And it's not active, but it's not capped.
It's not capped, but it's not active.
Right.
And it wouldn't prevent, if it remained zoned what it is now and somebody came in and put in a building there, it's still going to be
Still there.
within some distance to an active gas well.
It's been a challenging, like I said, I've looked at zoning here before. There was a project that was put up that was exclusively rentals, that was high density. Like I said, I don't recall the specifics, but 50 to 60 homes, and that one just didn't smell right to me. But I think a dozen families and six units, it's been successful on the other side of the road, and it's continuous, and I don't really have a problem with it.
Yeah, I feel like, if you're across the street on the south end and you want to look at something nice, you don't necessarily want to look at commercial business across the street. It's sort of my opinion. Any other discussion?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, so I'd like a vote. Would like a roll call, please.
Okay. Mr. Dondorfer?
Yes.
Mr. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucci?
Yes. Would you like to move on to the next zoning
The
amendment?
zoning one, get that-
Yes.
yeah, that's
Get
fine.
that out of the way.
Okay.
Do I have a motion?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I will make a motion to approve zoning text amendments to the Concord Township zoning resolution as initiated by the Zoning Commission. Amendment 1, amend section 16.24, permitted density and open space requirement to add new section F, environmental restoration plan.
And I will second.
Any discussion?
I know this comes on Mrs. Freeman, gave us the background. It comes on the heels of some work that the Zoning Commission did to retool our RCD, our Conservation Zoning District, and I like the work they've done. I like the idea that we're really focusing on restoring the natural habitat and working to maintain that when we, if we disturb it, replace, we're maintaining it, which I think speaks to the essence of the conservation zoning, which I'm pretty familiar with, having used it for quite a while. So I think it's some good work, and I think we should adopt it.
Okay, so this is for amendment number 1.
We have to do vote on each
Yes.
one.
Right.
So would you like to roll call, please?
Mr. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mr. Dondorfer?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucci?
Yes. And item L?
Madam Chairman, I move to approve Amendment 2, amend Section 16.24CE to change landscape plan requirement to environmental restoration plan.
Madam Chair, I will second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mr. Dondorfer?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucci?
Yes. Item M?
Madam Chair, I will make a motion to approve amendment number 3 to amend section 6.02 prohibited uses to add new section J, medical marijuana retail dispensaries.
And I will second.
Any discussion?
I'll let you kick that one off, Carl. Well, you might be the more resident expert on this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. These are popping up in certain communities. Painesville Township opened one up, I think, close to my time in the Sheriff's Department around 2017. There's some other dispensaries locally within Lake County. I think there's about 4 or 5. So, I don't know where that leaves us, but
I like what Mrs. Freeman said, that when we asked about the board's thought process on this, and that of course we've got an issue statewide that might
Right.
be changing some of the dynamics. So I certainly appreciate the thought behind just saying, hey, let's call it prohibited now, and I guess we're kind of punting on the issue, but at least
Right.
I think
Get
maybe
something in place.
get some and then taking it up again at some point as this issue gets a little more clear, because my understanding is in some of those places, those dispensaries have created some issues. There's been problems. It's not been smooth sailing yet. I think it's such a new issue. Rather, wait and see how it develops.
No, and I know in some of the areas that they were implemented, there was some dissension among residents that were close
Right.
to the area and things of that nature that had safety concerns about, people that might be showing up and things of that nature, people coming into the neighborhood. So,
Yeah, I agree, and I commend the board for addressing it. I think like you said, it is new. Like we need more experience on what, the impact of this and what we think would be acceptable for our township. So.
I'd be waiting for someone to express specific interest, talking about it, and or saying, hey, would you be willing to amend your zoning to allow it? That would be a more constructive time to address the issue. I think I'm not opposed to addressing it, but yeah, I think this puts us in a good spot to force the conversation.
Okay. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Dondorfer?
yes.
Mr. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mrs. Lucci?
Yes. Okay, so I think we can go back to item A.
Please don't forget about my financial statements.
Madam Chair, I will make a motion to approve the March financial report.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Madam Chairman, I move to approve Resolution 2209 authorizing participation in the ODOT winter salt contract.
Madam Chair, I will second.
Any discussion?
As depressing as the fact that we're still using salt and we're talking about salt for next year,
It's the service director's fault.
I'll add that comment and leave it there.
Maybe it'll ward it off,
It's knocking on wood, right?
All right, all in favor of this?
Aye.
Aye. Madam Chair, I will make a motion to approve Resolution 2022-10 to amend settlement agreement with Stephen Douglas Corporation and Endless Discovery Holdings.
Second.
Any discussion?
Glad to see economic development happening in Concord.
Yes. All
That
right.
JED in action.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move to approve Service Department accept all bids for stone, asphalt, concrete, and limestone.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. Madam Chair, I will make a motion to approve and to appoint Ivan Valentik to Board of Zoning Appeals regular member effective April 1st, 2022 through March 31st of 2027.
Second.
Any discussion?
I think I've had time to talk with Mr. Valentik. I think he's a good addition to the Board of Zoning Appeals.
He's a good contributor. It's good.
Yes.
It's
He
good.
is.
It's good to be renewing his appointment.
Yeah.
It is, and it's wonderful that people still want to
Get
give
involved.
back to the community and get involved. So we thank him for his continued service. All in favor?
Aye.
I move to approve PO to CNC Inc. in the amount of $16,100 for a study of Oak Ridge Drive for drainage improvements.
And I will second that motion.
Any discussion?
I would just like to add, as Mr. Rose has said previously, that the formal name of the company in question is Civil and Environmental Consultants, Inc.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Madam Chair, I will make a motion to approve the PO to CEC Inc. in the amount of $44,000 for professional engineering services for a new service department cold storage building.
Second.
Any discussion?
We need this building to keep desperately
Keep our
equipment in better
Equipment,
condition.
yep.
Yeah.
Preserve.
Take care of our assets.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Madam Chairman, I vote to approve cemetery department PO to Lake Erie Shores contract in the amount of $5,125 for adding topsoil and hydroseed to complete the 1965 expansion of our cemetery.
And I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Get busy going with that. We need to get it done.
All in favor?
Aye. Madam Chair, I will make a motion to approve fire department PO to Atwell's police and fire equipment in the amount of $17,000 for fire department uniforms.
Second.
Any discussion there?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so moving down to item N. Mr. Rose, I believe you have something you would like to read for us?
I do. Thank you, Mrs. Lucci. It's a proclamation to the Lake County Department of Job and Family Services, Concord Township, Ohio. Whereas all children of our community have the right to live and grow in a safe, secure, and supportive environment, enter school prepared to succeed, be able to choose healthy behaviors, and grow to successful adulthood. And whereas we, the leaders of this community, acknowledge that those rights are not always available to all children, and although there has been significant progress to increase the safety and security of our children, we renew our commitment to protecting our most valuable resource. And whereas during 2021, Lake County Children's Services responded to 1,900 calls regarding children and their families, and as a result, Children's Services worked with approximately 1,000 children who presented with a variety of issues which could not easily be resolved. And whereas over 100 foster families, adoptive families, relatives, and other alternative caregivers provided a safe environment for children who are unable to be in their family home. And whereas statistics show that a great majority of children who have died from maltreatment in the state of Ohio were under the age of 5, thus never having had the chance to attend kindergarten. And statistics further show that survivors of child abuse and neglect are at a greater risk for problems later in life that affect not just the child and family, but our society as a whole. And whereas the best prevention of child abuse can only be done if we, both as a society and as individuals, take responsibility to offer parents and families the support and tools they need to provide healthy, nurturing homes for their children. Therefore, we shall declare April as Child Abuse Prevention Month in Concord Township and urge the citizens of our community to join with us to become involved in activities this month and all throughout the year to raise the awareness of child abuse and to focus our attention on providing safe environments for children and fostering confident, positive parents. Dated this 6th day of April, the Concord Township Board of Trustees.
Thank you, Mr. Rose.
Thank you.
Future meetings and announcements. Mrs. Dawson, would you give us the pleasure of reading those, please?
Thank you, Mrs. Lucci. On April 13th at 7 p.m., there'll be a Board of Zoning Appeals meeting held here at Town Hall. On April 20th, from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m., trustees' office hours will be held at the conference room. From 7:30 p.m., trustee regular meeting here at Town Hall.
All right. This concludes our trustee meeting for April 6, 2022. Thank you.